Jim Fetzer with James Fetzer News and my special guest, Jerry Mazza. Jerry, you have been publishing a series of important articles in Online Journal, and I want to ask how you got into these topics no other mainstream journalist seems willing to address, such as JFK and 9/11.
Well, I think it's kind of a personal thing. First of all, the piece I wrote about, several pieces about JFK, he was the first president that I ever voted for. And I was in my early 20s, and he provided great hope for people of my generation that things could be different. In spite of the fact that I was already reading I.F. Stone and Paul Krasner and the Monthly Review and learning all about the dark side of politics, somehow he seemed inviolable. But unfortunately, with his assassination, which seemed to be so callous and so patently manufactured, there grew a certain cynicism, or maybe just a sense of a different kind of truth about what was going on in America. And I chose to pursue that. And actually, I had read your book, The Great Zapruder Film Hoax, several years ago, and been blown away by the amount of information that really just substantiated what not just, but substantiated what I was thinking on pretty much on all levels, particularly in regard to the magic bullet, which seemed to me so improbable, so made up, and so fake that it was unbelievable. But nevertheless, as you put it in Assassination Science, it was the keystone of the whole argument of a lone gunman. And so I wrote an article based largely upon some of the excellent research that you had done as a pioneer explorer and reporter in that field, and I thank you for it. So that's how I got drawn into that. With 9/11, I've lived in New York City all of my life, and that was really equally as personal to me. You know, it was like somebody blowing up your backyard, literally, because I lived just a few miles upriver of 9/11. And once again, given the JFK experience, it seemed to me what the administration was saying was phony. I mean, it was untenable that they could fish out these guys' pictures, the hijackers, within 48 hours and solve the crime. You know, if they had these pictures, why didn't they warn the executive branch? But then I knew the executive branch had been warned on numerous occasions and ignored the warning. So that immediately begins to add up to their conspiracy, not my conspiracy theory, their conspiratorial actions. And when there was no response to that, a kind of stand down with planes flying out to the ocean instead of flying to New York, it only compounded it. And then what followed from it, the war on terror, within a matter of days, was also unbelievable. You know, they just decided to jump in and attack Afghanistan, and then Iraq was based upon a pack of patent lies that Saddam had weapons of mass destruction, which they still haven't been able to prove 9 years later. So, unfortunately, the government, with many of us, is its own undoing in terms of the things it asks us to believe, whether it's the underwear bomber, the shoe bomber, or what have you. These things seem to be so patently constructed by the government that the underwear bomber gets allowed on a plane without a passport coming from Africa via the Chicago airport. And help my memory with this. What was this?
Yeah. He was escorted through the system by an official. They bypassed all the security checks. It was ridiculous, Jerry.
Right, and it was subsequently turned out it was a CIA man. That it wasn't a somebody from India's intelligence service. He spoke English with an American accent. He was very well dressed, and in no time he got this kid through and on the plane. Unfortunately, they forgot to use a blasting cap, as my friend Captain John McCarthy from Army Special Services, Special Forces pointed out to me. So the plastic explosive wouldn't ignite. So, it's all this and more that says to anybody that's listening closely, your government is lying to you. And, I'm not a wild-eyed commie pinko or I was brought up in a working-class neighborhood in Brooklyn, and I wrote a poem to Jim about that called Truman Passing By. I remembered seeing him one night on Grant Street in Williamsburg, Brooklyn, in his open touring car, which reminds me also of JFK passing by, although I didn't see that firsthand. But I did see Truman pass by, and he passed by, and there was this fish store in our neighborhood that emitted this odor of fried fish and French fried potatoes, which was quite good during the day, but by night it began to get a little off. Anyhow, and this reminded me of the awful odor that the OSS, becoming the CIA, had emitted. Becoming this terrible intelligence organization that was free to take down an American president in the middle of the day and say it was done by some offbeat soul named Harvey Oswald with 4 bullets, no less, one of which hit a James T. after it bounced off the pavement. So there you have it. I mean,
have you been fairly astonished that the cover-up in JFK continues with this computer scientist from Dartmouth, no less?
Yeah, well, he made the footnotes of Wikipedia. My story that I wrote about the incredulity of his story didn't make any footnotes. It did make your blog, but perhaps that's equally as wonderful because the print is bigger and more people will probably read it. But, if they want to go one-on-one, I think maybe we'll keep up with them.
Can you believe the suppression of discussion of 9/11, illustrated recently by the Huffington Post removing a column by Jesse Ventura on the ground that they don't support the discussion of conspiracy theories?
Well, Ariana, Huffington has never been a supporter of 9/11 truth. It probably doesn't keep her in good standing with the people who are picking up her tab. And I think she was an item with Bill Maher, who's another entertainment figure. I sort of put Huffington Post in that category of news as entertainment, who does not allow for talk about 9/11. I'm talking about Maher now, and who actually attacked some of his audience members who shouted out talk about Building 7. He physically ran into the audience, brave man that he is, with all of his goons, and pushed a lady over. But these days, that's de rigueur to avoid 9/11 truth, because it opens up so many painful elements for President Obama, who inherited them from President Bush.
Jerry, I'm so proud of your good work. Keep it up, will you? I'm very proud to be associated with you. Thank you so very much.
Well, same here. Thank you, Jim.